Philippines Central Bank boss says inflation biggest challenge of 2022. Inflation will be a bigger threat to economics next year than COVID-19, the head of the Philippines Central Bank has told the BBC. Inflation will be a bigger threat to economics next year than COVID-19, the head of the Philippines Central Bank has told the BBC. Benjamin Daikno also said he believes his country's economy will return to pre-pandemic levels by mid-2022. Benjamin Daikno also said he believes his country's economy will return to pre-pandemic levels by mid-2022. We expect the economy to be back to where it was by the middle of the next year or even earlier, he said. We expect the economy to be back to where it was by the middle of next year or even earlier. He said. The Philippines was one of the Southeast Asian nations worst affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The Philippines was one of the Southeast Asian nations worst affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Diokno said that, like many other countries as they emerge from the pandemic, price rises will be a challenge for the Philippines, even as he says. Mr. Diokno said that, like many other countries, as they emerge from the pandemic, price rises will be a challenge for the Philippines. Even as he says, He sees the economy recovering in the months ahead. Recovering in the months ahead. Right now, inflation is elevated because of food prices, and that's a result of the recent weather disturbances. Also, partly because of the international price crude oil, which of course has affected the whole world. Mr. Diokno said in an exclusive interview with Asia Business Report. Right now, inflation is elevated because of food prices, and that's a result of recent weather disturbances. Also partly because of the international price of crude oil, which of course has affected the whole world. Mr. Diokno said in an exclusive interview with Asia Business Report. Mr. Diokno said in an exclusive interview with Asia Business Report. More people in more places trust BBC News than any other news source. Register for a BBC account to see why. I think we'll be over this by the first quarter of next year, given our ramp up in the vaccination program, he added. I think we'll be over this by the first quarter of next year. Given a ramp up in the vaccination programming, he added. Looking ahead to next year's presidential election, Mr. Diokno said that the most important issue at that time for the Philippines economy will be inflation and unemployment, in particular amongst the youth. Looking ahead to next year's presidential election, Mr. Diokno said that the most important issue at that time for the Philippines Philippines economy will be inflation and unemployment. In particular amongst the youth. I think the impact of the COVID-19 is on our youth because they lost 1 full year of studies, he said. The Philippines has a very young population. Its median age is 25, so the next government should continue to focus on investment in human capital. I think the impact of the COVID-19 is on our youth because they lost 1 full year of studies, he said. The Philippines has a very young population. Its median age is 25. So the next government should continue to focus on investment in human capital. So the next government should continue to focus on investment in human capital. If Mr. Kuno's predictions about economic recovery are correct, it would mark a major leap forward from the situation the Philippines found itself in during the COVID crisis. If Mr. Kuno's predictions about economic recovery are correct, it would mark a major leap forward from the situation the Philippines found itself in during the COVID crisis. Just a month ago, the country was assessed by Bloomberg as being the worst place to be during the pandemic. Just a month ago, the country was assessed by Bloomberg as being the worst place to be during the pandemic. The country has reported more than 2,080 million COVID-19 infections and seen over 45,000 deaths according to Johns Hopkins University. This is amongst the highest in the region. The country has reported more than 28 million COVID-19 infections. The country has reported more than 28 million COVID-19 infections and seen over 45,000 deaths. This is according to Johns Hopkins University. This is amongst the highest in the region. This is amongst the highest in the region. According to recent data, almost 70 million doses of COVID vaccines have been administered in the country so far. That would be enough to fully vaccinate about a third of the population of the Philippines. According to recent data, almost 70 million doses of COVID vaccines have been administered in the country so far. That would be enough to fully vaccinate about a third of the population of the Philippines. The country's government is trying to push ahead with its vaccination programming. It is reportedly set to carry out a nationwide 3-day immunization drive from 29 November. The country's government is trying to push ahead with this vaccination programming. It is reportedly set to carry out a nationwide 3-day immunization drive from 29 November.